So like 2 weeks into the eviction process, he gives me a call. He's like, they burned down the house. Like literally these guys burned down the house.
So your feelings were correct when you said.
Like they weren't getting out of there.
Dude, I was not expecting you to say, wait. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Behind the Lockbox. I'm your host, Stephanie Zalowski with...
I'm Cameron Barbier.
And today we are sitting down with one of our favorite people, Ramon Maldonado. Yay. He is an agent with our own brokerage Compass. He is born and raised in San Diego, which so are you. And I feel like you guys are a very rare breed, but you know.
Unicorns.
Yeah, exactly. Ramon has been in the industry for over 11 years and crushing it ever since. He's a dad to 2 beautiful boys, a friend, a confidant, all around amazing guy. Ramon Maldonado, welcome to Behind the Lockbox.
I need to have you around more often.
I hype you up, don't I? He paid me to say all of that, so you know.
My hype person in the back going on listing appointments. Like, hold on, listen to her first.
I'm doing a cheer in the background. They're like, "Who is this chick? Like, where did she come
follows from?"
Me. Just the way we roll.
I know she just follows me around. Like, I don't know what to do with her.
Obsessed with me.
She's obsessed. Maybe I can hire her to babysit my kids. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you so much for being here because, like, let's be honest. I've been told that this is like not your thing being on camera, but you look so legit, doesn't he?
Yes,
it really isn't my thing.
It's not my thing either, and here I am.
I like to stay behind the scenes.
And you love it, don't you?
I do.
Yes.
You know, do my thing, stay under the radar.
I feel you.
So,
but we love that you're here. Thank you so much. The reason why I wanted you to come onto this podcast is because I know you have stories, because we've talked about stuff.
Yeah.
You were born and raised here. You have structured your business in a very interesting way, and you have been very successful at doing it. Like, you don't do many open houses, so you don't have a lot of those stories, maybe 1 or 2 from the past, but like the way that you do stuff and how successful you are, I think it's fantastic. So you came in today and you told me, you were like, okay, I've got a couple stories. Which one do you want to start with?
I'll go with my first experience, some of my first experiences in the business.
Like a while ago.
Yeah, when I first started. I mean, short sales. I got into the business. It was rough.
Yep.
Homes were 1/5 of the price than what they are today. I was just trying to figure out the business.
Yeah.
Right. And
you were young. You were in your 20s.
I was 24, about to be 25 when I got in. I was just like, how are we going to get business? And I got into the business with a friend. He was trying to show me the ropes, doing a little TC work for him.
Yep.
And then he's like, everyone was, no, at that time, flippers were flippers. They weren't just real estate agents who were flipping homes, right?
Oh, like, that's like all that they did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you were finding properties, giving it to them, then you would double end it. So you'd have 3 sides of a deal. And it was like, great, we're making some money. So I was calling, I got introduced to cold calling notice of defaults. We would go door knock them.
Yep.
And one of the first ones, I went by myself. No idea what I was doing. Go on the door.
Door knocking by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No idea. Just, hey, your home's in default.
I
didn't know what to expect. So I knock on the door.
Especially when you're door knocking to be like, hi, sir, your house is about to be taken away.
Super awkward conversation.
Yeah.
And the guy was intense. Had a lock screen.
What part of town? Can you say what part of town this is?
Yeah, it was in Lemon Grove.
Oh. I mean, anyone that knows San Diego,
yeah. And Lemon Grove 11 years ago is way different
than it is now.
Yeah.
Max is shaking his head, yes.
And, Lemon Grove is, God, it's grown. It's so much is being put in there
100%, yeah.
Just like a lot of San Diego and a lot of those areas. I mean, I remember North Park was really
scary.
When we were in high school, you weren't kicking it in North Park.
Oh, really? I mean, I've only been here 10 years. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so gentrified.
Yeah.
I mean,
crazy.
It's North Park's, it's hipster too.
But I remember him coming to the door and be like, what do you want? And I'm like, holy.
Wait, can you paint us a picture?
Sorry.
Can you paint us a picture of what he looked like?
I mean, I remember him having a beard, and I didn't really see him because it was like one of the guard gate,
like the screen doors. Yeah. The security privacy door.
So all I heard was that. And I'm probably 145 pounds soaking wet at the time. It was crazy. And I was like, hey, like your home is in default. I'm here to help. you have many options. I was giving him the options that he had.
Did you know for sure that he was the homeowner, or could he have been a tenant?
No, he was the homeowner, because
Okay.
I had asked him, like, hey, are
Okay.
you the owner of the property?
Okay.
He said yes. He's like, I'll be right back. And I was like, okay. So I'm standing probably 5 or 6
I'm
feet
so
away
scared.
from the
Yeah.
gate, and he's opens it up with a baseball bat.
Oh.
And he's like,
Okay, I thought a gun was coming, but okay.
you got 5 seconds to get the F off my property. And I was like, 1, 2, turn around, and I just
Okay.
like booked. I mean, full speed.
sprinting.
Yeah, gone. And then I'm like, he had like a gate in the front. I'm like shaking at the gate, trying to open up the gate. And he's probably laughing. I don't know, but I just
Oh,
ended
for
up-
sure. Like
He's
you
like,
probably looked like you were literally physically shaking.
I was scared because
Oh,
barely knew anything in the industry. Like, I'm just telling him what people told me to say.
Yeah.
And he's out there with a bat. And then, this is when I finally see what he looks like, beard.
Because then he opened like the screen door.
Yeah.
Physically show you his bat. Was it metal or was it wood?
It was a wood bat. Yeah.
But still could do some damage.
He had tattoos on his face and his arm. And I'm just like, not sure
to be
what
messed
I'm
with.
doing. Yeah.
Pretty
like,
sure you saw a teardrop next to the eye. Like
yeah. Oh, I'm
baseball
gone.
or-
Like,
there was no details. I can't give you detailed stuff. I was down the street by this point.
yeah, I'm trying to survive. I jump in my car. I probably get from that front door to my car in 10 seconds. I'm off. I didn't even want to see if he was behind
Did you
me.
ever door knock again?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, I did. More normal situations. Hey, you looking to sell?
Yeah.
Not sir, your house is in default and I'm here to help you.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
Dude.
it was rough. It was rough. The short sale days were really interesting days.
We just talked about this last week, actually, or 2 weeks ago now, with Rob Brown, because he started in Vegas, actually, and he was like investor and flipping, and like I worked for Countrywide Home Loans in those days in Arizona. So Arizona, Florida, Nevada, like all those areas got hit really hard, as you know.
Yeah.
And so, but I wasn't. And I was on the mortgage side still, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it was completely different. But I was telling her, I was like, it was the Wild West. Like the stuff that was going on and the stuff that was coming in was insane.
Well, to think about like now what the industry is and what
Yeah.
it was just 11 years ago.
It's true.
I look back like how crazy
I know.
some of the situations are, how sad a lot of the situations were, what
Yes.
people were going through.
Yeah.
I had to go
Yeah.
into some of the houses that were going into default, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You like really see.
People were
we're
getting
going
cash
through.
for keys for $5,000, and then it jumped up to 10,000.
Yep.
It was like 5,000 was just enough to get them to move. Like,
It wasn't to get them
Yeah.
even into a new place necessarily. That's like moving costs and a deposit, but could they afford another plate? Like who knows, right? Like, yeah, it was,
people lost jobs,
wild.
and
Yep.
it was just, it was
yeah.
sad. So I door knocked a couple more, notice of defaults.
You did?
But
Damn,
then,
you're brave.
well, then I decided like, hey, this just isn't for me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna call people. It's a lot easier to, get told
Nobody
to go
can chase
fly
you
kite.
down a
Yeah.
street. They can cuss you out and you can just hang up the phone.
So one of my next appointments, cold calling notice of defaults. 'Cause that's all I was doing at the time. Was,
Well, and that's, I mean, again, speaking to the time that you were in, it
Yeah.
wasn't like there was a whole lot else to, call on.
I remember meeting this lady. I originally met her at this one house that she was just like, yeah, meet me at my friend's. I'm here. So we were talking about her house.
Did you call her originally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Called her.
Okay. And she
and-
says, meet me at my friend's house. You're
Yeah.
like,
She's like, I'm not going to be
Sketch,
at
but
my
okay.
house. Just meet me here. And I was, you tell me that you're
Yeah.
interested in selling. I'll meet you anywhere.
touche.
I was just trying to survive and stay in the business at that time.
Yeah.
It was sink or swim.
It's
So
true. It's true.
I ended up chatting there. She's like, yeah, I want to short sell my house. So she's like, but meet me at the house in a couple days. So I meet her at the house, and I remember driving up, and I'm driving, the typical like new agent who has a BMW, like 3 Series
You
BMW.
went and got yourself a little BMW? I love that.
Yeah, you
Good
know.
job. I've never had one.
Don't.
I used
You
to have
had one,
too. Yeah.
but you just liked that car. It
Yeah, I
wasn't.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the car.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was a hot shot then.
I mean, you were like, hell yeah.
I roll up, and there's these guys like working out in her front yard, and I'm like, oh my God.
Here we go again.
Like total, I mean, I was in a rough part of San Diego.
Okay.
And these guys are total Friday situation, working out,
Can you
you know,
picture it?
on the bench, doing their curls. And they look at me and they're like, what's up? And I was like, hey, what's up? Like,
Someone told me to meet me here.
I
like
swear.
Yeah.
you going inside to meet her? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, you better take care of her.
Oh.
I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, you could feel that way, or you could feel like I'm gonna die
Yeah.
going in this house.
Do you know who they were? Were they her sons or just neighbors that
They
were looking out for
just
her?
like people that were living with her. It was a really weird
interesting.
situation. I end up sitting down with her, listing it with her. We end up selling it. An investor buys it.
Okay.
And I remember sitting down with her.
Because
and
she was again underwater, so she
Underwater,
would have lost
yeah.
her house if she hadn't short sailed
Yeah.
it and got out. Okay.
She was losing this place no matter what.
Oh God.
Right. And I go and I remember sitting down with her, filling out disclosures because she just wasn't into the computer doing
Yeah.
any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I just remember the energy being off because the guys were there now in her backyard. And I was like, they're staring at me while I'm doing paperwork. And he's like, they asked her like, hey, is he taking care of you? And she's like, yeah, she is. And I'm like, oh my God. So I remember texting my,
So this is like a different day that
Yeah,
they're still
different
there
days.
and they're still just like
still there,
eyeballing you.
find out that they're living there.
Wow.
Right. And she's like, oh, they'll be moved out. Okay. And I remember texting my wife being like, hey, this is the address I'm at.
If I don't
'Cause
come home.
I would,
If I go missing.
I would show up to sketchy places.
Well, yeah.
And even to this day, if like I'm in a situation where I'm like, this is kind of weird, I'll shoot her a text.
Yeah, she does the same
Yeah.
thing to me.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and she has
Like
like,
here's my location pin.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
again, we've talked about this on other podcasts. I don't think people necessarily think what we sometimes have, the predicaments we have to put ourselves in and what parts of town we're in, or like, it's not glamorous. It is not all glitz and glamour. Like it's really, really not. And so and as women in the business, we have to be even a little bit more careful, you know? And
sure.
so it's interesting, but yeah.
You're walking into this place and
yeah, I mean,
you have no idea.
This
No.
is am I allowed to say shit?
Yeah.
Well, I already did. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, this place is a shithole.
It's like
it's disgusting. These guys have like taken over this house. Like I know they had to have been doing all kinds of crazy stuff. You smell stuff, you see stuff,
oh God.
and I think they're thinking that it's not going to happen, right? And,
They're like, this chump, like whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
and again, I'm 25 at the time.
Did
like,
she, when you go back to when you were said like the energy felt weird, did you feel like that she was like being intimidated by them or like kind of taken control
feel
of
like-
by them?
I feel like it was a mixture of everything.
Wow,
Right.
interesting.
Like she was being taken advantage. I'm like having to, I sat at the table in a position to where I could see them in the backyard and be able to look at her. And I made sure that the front door was unlocked when I walked. Because when I walked through the front door, I could see them. So I was like, okay, I know how
Let's
this is
just leave
gonna
this
get
front
down.
door ajar so I can have a quick escape.
Yeah. Like I was like ready to jet out of here.
That's wild. So
And
anyway,
we
so
get
they're,
through
yeah,
the transaction,
you're good.
right? We close. We
Wow.
sold it to an investor.
Okay.
And the investor calls me the day after it closed because he didn't go back. And he's like, hey, those guys are still living here.
Of course.
I'm like, all right, well,
You're
gonna
like, you're a problem.
yeah,
Bye.
total.
Listen, man, I've
Totally.
almost died going over there 3 times. I ain't going back.
Yeah. And so he starts the eviction process. Well, like 2 weeks into the eviction process, he gives me a call. He's like, they burned down the house. Like, literally, these guys burned down the house.
So your feelings were correct when you
Yeah.
said,
Like, they weren't getting out of there. I
Dude,
mean,
I was not expecting you to sit. Wait.
so I was like, hey, I'm going to go drive
The little
by.
old lady was gone.
She was gone.
She moved out. Like
Yeah.
she like, did you ever find out who they were
she
to
was
her?
a little old lady?
Yeah,
I
she
missed
was
that
like,
part.
she was old. She was.
So I feel like you especially are like then trying to take care of her. You're like, what's happening here? This feels weird.
And I remember, I believe she either went to a home or she went to go live with like somebody she knew. I told the investor like yeah,
He showed up and the house was like,
burned down. Well, he got a call from the fire department. You know, they call the
yeah,
people
they're
that
like,
are on
exactly,
record.
exactly.
And he's like, yeah, they burned down the house. So I was like, all right, well, I'll meet you over there and see what's going on. And at the time, my office was like 30 minutes from where it was, so it wasn't that far.
Right.
So I go and literally probably 80% of the house is burnt down. And this guy's trying to flip the home, you know, like,
I was going to ask.
Hey,
like,
it's new construction now, so
yeah.
oh my god.
But
maybe it worked out.
Shit.
new construction in a rough part of
Oh.
San
Yeah.
Diego.
So then you're overbuilding for like,
Yeah.
okay.
Insurance had to get involved.
And were those guys anywhere to be found?
No.
Had they
but-
moved out and come back and torched it?
No, I believe they still lived there. Right,
got
like
all
they,
their
or
stuff
like
and
they
then-
probably got all their stuff. I
That
don't
they
really
wanted
remember.
out?
Yeah, and they just burned the house down.
Wow.
But then
Set a match, walked away.
insurance comes
shit.
and gets involved, and they give them the money to help start the rebuild process.
Oh God.
He calls me again.
No.
They burned down the house again.
No.
And so you're like,
Are you fucking kidding me?
This is a joke.
No
The guy
way.
had to pay for 24-hour security on the house because
In a not great area where he's just trying to flip it for a little bit of a profit. This is not like he's going to
Yeah.
turn a huge profit here.
I'm shocked they didn't do something to you.
yeah. Oh, I was.
You know? Because they're like, this guy's getting our house gone.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, that's why like, every
Had-
time I was there, I was like,
How many times did you have to go over there and see them?
I saw them twice. Once when I showed up to the house,
The first
originally to
time.
see the house, and then the second time
When you
was
were
to
doing
see the-
paperwork.
yeah.
So you didn't have to go back at any point. And like
never.
once it was like in escrow and all that stuff,
Yeah.
like you didn't go. Or
Once I
anything
know
like
the
that.
paperwork was done,
Well, they probably just also didn't know where to find you or talk shit to you. So then now they see the new owner and they're like, no, we're just going to F with this guy.
yeah. So things were just
Whoa. How far down the process was he when they torched it again?
it wasn't. It was probably like a month. right?
Okay,
It
so
wasn't
it's not
too
like it was
far.
almost done and then
But they were like trying to frame it out again. They had taken away all the burnt stuff of the house, and then
brand new wood and goes right up
had to
in smoke
do it
again.
all over again.
No
So
way.
it took him like a year and a half from when he bought it to finally reselling it.
Did these guys
So-
ever get arrested?
I don't believe so.
Like they couldn't
I don't
pin
think
anything?
they. Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those neighborhoods where
No one's going to
talking.
talk. No one's saying
Actually,
anything.
now I remember they like one of them had a family member that lived like down the block or something.
Okay.
But again, no one was going to talk. Like,
No,
Right.
you
they're not going
talk,
to
you're
turn
in
them
trouble.
in. Yeah, or
And they didn't
worse.
ask you anything?
No, like outside of just, I talked to the cop once, and it was just more of like, yeah, these guys lived here. Just kind of what I explained to you guys, like
Yeah.
just awkward.
And we don't.
Weird.
And no one. You guys.
Yeah.
Meaning you didn't physically see them light the match and set the
Yeah.
place on fire, so you can't pinpoint
Yeah.
anything on them anyway.
Yeah. So
Did the security guard ever see them try to roll back by a third time?
I don't really know.
Okay.
Because at that point,
Did you-
I ended up not re-listening. He ended up re-listening it himself because it was just,
Was he a licensed agent? Like, did he
Yeah.
represent himself in the transaction? So you didn't represent him.
no, I ended up representing him.
Okay,
in the
so you were able to
transaction,
like
yeah.
double end.
'Cause
Okay,
At that time, you throw up a short sell, it was like
it was gone.
Yeah.
50 investors. Everyone went directly towards you.
Right.
Like,
And they were like, "We'll work with you. Just like get us."
and
like,
so you're
the
trying to
deal."
like see who's the most serious investor
Sure,
of it all, who's going to
sure.
actually get into escrow and not try to beat you down on price
Right.
later because you're negotiating with the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these things were taking 3 months,
Months.
6 months.
Months.
I think my longest short sell at the time was a year.
Yep.
And so it was like,
And I was the bank at that time, so
I mean-
And by the way, everybody was like pencil pushers. Like it was an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Like nothing moved quickly. It was not. Nobody was there to like. It was.
well,
no.
the banks were trying to figure out the process.
They
too.
were. We were. Yes. And here was the thing. Again, I was with Countrywide, and then Bank of America came in and bought them out.
Yep.
And so there was overnight, we literally went from Countrywide to Bank of America. And so then all the processes, everything had to be turned over to Bank of America. And Countrywide was the biggest offender of all of these subprime loans and the reason why everyone's houses were going up in smoke, pun intended. You know what I mean? And so it was literally a shit show. It really was. And I was in college and showing up to work drunk half the time, so like I didn't know what was going on, but you know what I mean. But like it was a crazy time. So they were taking a long time, and then once we got further down the line,
It was
we
an
got
easier
everything figured out.
process.
Things got better, and there
Yeah.
weren't as many REO properties and things like that. But that's insane. Did you ever talk to that guy like again, like after it sold? or
Yeah,
anything?
we did other.
Okay.
I sold
Deals
other stuff
together.
just because it was, you kind of got like your 5 or 6 investors at that time that you trust that
Yep.
they weren't just throwing you an offer to beat you
Yeah.
down later.
And I feel like you guys had been through it with this one. He's like, look, man,
yeah, I mean there was like a trust factor in that.
I
point.
cannot believe that they did it a second time.
No.
Yeah, it was
First
like
time I was like, what?
no joke.
No, he came in. He's like, yeah, he told me like the very first part where he's like, I walked up to his house and there was like guys like working out like Friday in the front, and that's all he said. I had no idea it was going this route.
Oh, it was.
Holy shit.
I mean, to think back on that of how stupid I was to keep pushing forward to try to get that transaction, list the property.
That particular one.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it was really unsafe. But
like
it was
now it'd be like, no thanks.
Yeah. Oh, I would never take that on. But at the time when you're just scraping through,
it's true.
Price points were so low that your commissions were basically nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Even when you're taking things at 6% then, because the banks were giving it to you.
Still.
I mean, you weren't making much money at all.
No.
And again, just trying to survive in the business.
Yeah.
Do as many as you could. And your paychecks were 3 months, 6 months down the line because everything was short sales.
Yep. Behind the Lockbox is sponsored by Property Showcase Group. Property Showcase Group has a team of creatives, directors, producers, editors, marketing specialists, and designers that work in tandem to tell and share stories of the built environment. Whether you're looking for full-service production or simply just need content creation, Property Showcase Group can help take your business to the next level. To learn more or to contact Property Showcase Group to schedule a consultation, you can find them at propertyshowcasegroup.com. That's spelled PROPERTYSHOWCASEGROUP.com. PropertyShowcaseGroup.com.
Yeah, and then you kind of like fast forward a few years where you're like kind of getting out of that. Then it was just like I was prospecting a lot of expired, canceled listings. It was what was taught to me. I remember going on this one listing appointment. Husband was a little like kind of weird on the phone, spoke to the wife. She said he had kind of some issues.
And so
she said he had issues?
Yeah.
Damn, she calls him out right away. She's like,
Yeah.
Look, my husband's a little crazy, but come on over anyway. Ramon's like, okay, here we go again. It's another Friday situation. So you called them to back up. So you called them on either an expired or whatever it was, set the appointment, and you were able to go and meet with them.
Yep.
So the day you get there,
you meet
the husband.
Yeah, I meet the husband.
And you had only been talking to the wife on the phone.
Wife and husband.
He was like there, but like,
he was always speaking in the background.
Okay. Oh boy.
So
yelling in the background, telling her what to say. Jeez.
I remember meeting him thinking like, it was super nice. He was super nice when I met him in person, but I could tell he was a little off. Like mentally he was just a little sideways.
Okay. Okay.
And I remember sitting down.
Were there any kids or just the two of them?
No, it's just the two of them trying to sell this house.
Okay.
They say they needed to move for personal reasons.
And this is past all of the
short sales.
All that stuff. This is like
we started getting into more of like a normal
market again. Okay.
Like you were seeing short sales, but it was
few and far between.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I remember looking through the house, and he just made like weird comments about his wife, the house.
Can you remember like what?
Well, he was like checking out his wife in front of me, and then he was like just saying like how hot and like she is and how out she was. Like it was just like passive aggressive, like loving on her, but then he was like throwing her under the bus.
Wow. And then she's like, and this is the hall bathroom, and he's like rubbing it. Like, what?
Yeah. No, we were walking up the stairs, and he's like, hey, hold on. And he was like looking up the stairs. I'm like, this is weird because you guys are like in your 60s, early 70s. Like, I'm like,
makes it even better.
I know.
I'm totally tripping out of the situation.
Is this guy high, drunk? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
What?
But all I could ever remember is like the wife saying like, hey, he's a little just kind of off. I'm like, all right. So
She's just like, this is another day. Like, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
So we get down, and we ended up like sitting down at the kitchen table. I'm going over comps. We're talking about commission. Everything's good to go. Then price comes up, and I'm like, hey, this is the price. And he lost it. Just hit his hand on the table.
Oh shit.
And the wife's like, I'm so sorry. Like, and she's like, let me just.
Did he storm out?
Yeah. Like, let me deal with him. But he's like, I'm going to go get a gun. And I'm like, what? And all I hear upstairs, because this is like an old house, like built in the 60s. So you hear everything. Yeah. And you hear him like opening up stuff and then
oh my God,
closing it. And I'm like, I'm going to go.
You hear it cock back. You're like, all right, well, let's go.
Yeah. Like, hey, I'm just going to go let you guys kind of figure things out. Cause obviously he's not happy with price. And he's like, I'm coming down with my gun. And I end up leaving that house so quick. and is like,
Quick as the first one. Ramon's like, I don't know if he ever came back with a gun.
yeah, I mean, well, I come to find out he did, like, because the wife called me probably 3 hours later, like bawling, apologizing, like, don't call the cops. I found out he didn't take his medicine for the day. Like,
Sad.
So he's really just like
Yeah.
off his rocker. There should not have been a gun in the house if he is that mentally ill.
first of all, you should have probably told me what was going on, like
Right.
mentally. I would have been more prepared of the
Like, oh, okay,
situation.
I understand.
Yeah. Like,
And I think you would have structured the conversation differently about price too, knowing that like, not that he's just a little weird, but maybe that he's
Could lose it.
could lose it. Like, sir, what do you
like
think
to
the price is worth? And then kind of reel it back from there versus just like,
oh,
oh my God.
yeah, I probably would have second guessed the meeting.
Well, true.
There would have been a whole lot of things that could have changed. And I would have been a lot more cautious
Yeah.
with the conversation.
Yeah.
But I was just like, okay, well, call me never, basically. Like,
Good luck selling your house.
she called me like five or 6 days later and was like, please, I want you to list my house.
Oh,
like,
God.
and I was like, well, I not dealing with your husband. Like, I don't feel safe for myself. I don't feel safe for other people coming into that house.
Can you imagine if you're doing a showing, you don't know he's there and he comes downstairs with a
Yeah.
gun?
Yeah.
Like, what?
So she's like, no. Like, he's in a mental ward now. And I'm like,
Oh.
okay. She's like, I just met with a lot of agents. Like, honestly, I felt so bad about what happened. Like, you deserve the
deal.
commission.
Damn straight.
She's like, I'm giving you 6%.
Wow.
Like, I don't care.
So it kind of worked out in your favor.
It did, but it couldn't have too, right? Like, if I
Yeah.
didn't, I feel like you have to go with your gut instincts with things like this.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I just jetted out of there and I didn't talk to anybody about it.
Yeah.
Didn't talk to my team lead.
You're like, it's just.
I didn't talk to my wife about it.
Did you ever take the listing?
Oh yeah, I
okay.
took the listing for
Once
sure.
once
I
he was
like,
locked up in the mental hospital, he's like, all right, let's sell this
I was
very
like,
quickly.
I deserve that.
You do.
Like, I
Okay.
deserve every penny.
How are you alive? That is literally 3
I-
instances where you should have died.
Well, it's like 3 of a lot. Like, it's been a long time now since I've been in that, but I feel like
Because those
first-
days when you started were just truly, we were going through something as a country. It was just the Wild West.
Yeah. I mean, those first 3 or 4
Years
were just crazy.
Wow.
And then it kind of got to the point to where I had like enough money saved.
Yes.
Like I was a
Don't
more
have to-
comfortable agent. I could say no to a lot of
Yep.
business.
You can sit in your office and cold call and not go on crazy appointments where there's maybe a weird
Yeah.
guy hollering in the background.
Yeah, and I still do to this day because like I feel like I understand now
Yeah.
people a lot more to
Oh,
where
for sure.
is that
You're reading the room differently now.
Yeah.
And you'll know whether or not to not have that conversation if someone is acting weird or, whatever. Yeah. Agreed.
and even a lot of these price points were lower
Right.
then. And,
Yeah.
But
Know
then
what
I've,
you're doing now.
But then I've also ran into like even weirder people at the higher price points, and I'm sure we all have. And it's
yeah.
just like you find those characters at
You
every
do.
price point.
You do.
I mean, it's just the
But
industry.
age and experience teaches us very quickly how to deal with those situations and,
Yeah.
not get yourself into a situation like that where you're
I mean, even
about
like
to have a gun pulled on you.
even like this year, I've dealt with some characters, and I'm just like,
No, man.
wow,
I'm too old for this.
like how do these type of people live in this world? Like,
How do you get by without a helmet? Like
Yeah.
I have no idea. I
I
know.
know. Old
It's
team I
crazy.
used to work for, we would do like our average sale was probably like 700,000, and this was like 10 years ago. But when I moved into more luxury, everyone would be like, "Oh, isn't it so much better?" So like the clientele, and I'm like, honestly, it's way more difficult because it's like, you're usually selling their before like their one big asset, so they're so grateful, and then when you get to the more higher end, it's
demanding.
demanding.
It's demanding.
ego can be
Yeah,
part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just-
Oh, yeah. And you know what's
Therapy.
funny on the flip side? What'd you say?
therapy.
Yeah.
You're the therapist.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did we have some stories about that? But on the flip side of that too, people always are like, oh, the higher end, like that's got to just take like so much more work. And I'm like, I'll tell you what, that $200,000 studio that I sold 4 years ago was just as much as work as that $7 million waterfront. Like
Yeah.
the price point in terms of like what you're doing, it doesn't matter, but the clientele can either be the same or really different depending
ways,
in different ways, but then the same at the same time. You know what I don't know if that made any sense, but you know.
I almost feel like sometimes, at least with my experience with some of the clients I've dealt with, is like it's always the client they're in the luxury price point, you know, maybe 15 years into buying and selling property, but they're still the same person, but they bought and sold at the right time.
Yes.
Those transactions can be they can be easier.
Yes. But again, they've seen it, they've been through it, you know what I mean? So they understand, they've kind of seen where the market's gone. It's not just they're selling their one asset that has now appreciated all this time. And look at all the fabulous things we've done to it. And you're like, that neon green wall is kind of questionable, but okay, you know, and they think it's so beautiful. Like, I mean, it's true. It's really, and we've had some very high-end clients that have just been the most amazing clients that we've ever had. Yeah. And then again, opposite, you know what I mean? So it just depends, but you know.
Well, those clients are the ones that make you be like, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
I can keep doing this.
You trust me, right?
Thank you for listening to everything I have to say. I actually have a new listing coming on in a week, and it's a more luxury listing. It's up there, and she is fantastic. I mean, 100% trust me, listens to everything I say. It's been great. I'm like, wow, this is what this feels like. I'm like, I need you to spend more money. She's like, okay, fine. I'm like, well, that was easy. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And then you get some that are like, you know, you're selling their 800,000. They're like, no. And you're like, oh, shit. Okay. Well, you know, what are you going to do?
Now I'm going to have to hire the handyman to paint.
Pay for it myself.
Red
Can't wait
walls.
to your
the
neon
orange
green.
walls.
Yeah, it's true. I think David Spivak, he was on a couple weeks ago. He kept saying your vibe attracts your tribe. And I like that. It's true.
Yeah.
I really try, especially, again, the further down the road that we go and the longer we've been in the business, we can say no to stuff. And you've got a family. I don't have children, but like I've got a family that I want to spend time with. You know, we want to do more things. And that work-life balance, she's got kids. It's very, very important. And so there have been clients that I've just been like, look, I don't think that this is going to work. Like I'm not the broker for you, you know? And I know we just talked about this a couple weeks ago. You have to. You have to. Because I mean, saying yes to everything is just going to, you're going to drive yourself
You have to have a
insane.
standard.
You do.
That's standard.
You do.
And I tell people that work with me is like, you got to create that box for a seller and for a buyer. If they don't meet everything within that box, it's okay to let them go.
Yeah.
They're going to be a deal for somebody, but it might not be a deal for you and your sanity.
And I think we've learned when we didn't let that go, what that did to our sanity. Yeah. And at the end, it took way longer. You didn't get paid nearly the commission that you needed to. Yeah. And like, there's some that I've had, we talked about one on our solo episode in the very beginning. I was like, Mercury is in retrograde. I am selling this property. And at that point I was like, no, I'm seeing this bitch through. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like this is going to go, but like it about did me in. Like I'll never do that again. Like it's not because it took so long and the price point, while it was around 3 million, like it wasn't high enough to justify everything that we had to go through. You know what I mean? And again, it's just, we get beat up a little bit in this business. And I think that people don't always take us so seriously. And so that can be challenging. And like you said, your standards, like we want to perform a certain way for our clients, and we are the type of agents that go above and beyond. And so you have to be able to you got to be able to have the stamina to do that with everybody. And so sometimes you just got to let it go.
Well, you don't want to feel like you're negotiating with your own client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The second that
you're
I feel like
negotiating
that,
for them.
I'm like, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, it's true.
You know,
it's true.
I actually had a client, what was it? Middle of last year, early year before, somewhere during that time frame. But I remember they were like, hey, will you give us like what Redfin's going to give us in kickback? And I'm like, oh God. And I had to tell them like, hey, you know what? I think it's best you go to Redfin.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I don't need your deal. You know, I'm
and
good.
this isn't a cocky thing. It's just, we're protecting ourselves. And the fact of the matter is, again, people don't really know what it's like to be us unless you are us. Right. Yeah. And so there are standards, and like, you can do that, and you can get kickbacks, and you can take the listing for 1% or whatever.
People think it's easy. I mean, it's just what it boils down to.
Right? They do.
There's so much information out there for the consumer now that like, they think what we do is so easy.
And this is exactly one of the reasons I started this podcast.
And I tell people like, if you felt like you went through the transaction, it was such an easy transaction, that means I did my job.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the issues and headaches.
That's a really good point.
You took on yourself.
You don't even hear about them.
Well, and that's the thing. We are protecting them. And we said this on another episode. I was like, there are things that my client will never even know happened.
Yeah.
It is my job to protect them and to be able to go through the whole process and manage their emotions, their expectations on both sides. And that's why working and having the network that we have with other agents is so valuable as well.
Yeah.
Because we have to be able to manage those emotions and the expectations on the other side. You're not going to get that when you do a listing for 1% with Redfin. Sorry. It's just not going to happen.
And that client ended up coming back to me.
Yep.
And it was like, and it was like 3 hours later.
Yeah.
Because that client was actually referred to me by like, I had worked with 6 different people in his company.
Oh, wow.
And
Did he actually go to Redfin and like have a conversation?
I believe he did. I believe. And
then he was like,
didn't know, but
oh boy, this guy doesn't know.
How that works.
Well, and
With Redfin?
Yeah.
I don't, honestly, I
they
haven't
just
really
kick
paid
back
attention
They
anymore
kick back a percentage
of their commission.
Yeah,
And a lot of
as a
them were
credit.
paid, a lot of them were paid,
They get salaried.
yeah.
Plus,
And then
like-
there's multiple people that work on one deal. So you get like a showing agent, you get the listing agent, you get, that kind of thing. And so they're not always.
So, too many hands in the pot.
Yeah.
Right,
It's like a lot of these companies that are trying to do a lot of everything just like on the internet. Like you don't need the
I buy
agent
stuff, yeah.
like you don't need the agent.
That's
when in
never going to
reality-
fly. It's
No.
never going to go anywhere. Our job is secure because again,
Too much of a relationship.
and
This-
there's too much that can happen, And so,
Every deal is so different. The amount
Yeah.
of
Oh.
deals we've done, I'm like, you just never know what you're
oh my
gonna
God,
get.
there's stuff that comes up and I'm
Can't have
like,
a robot
I don't
do
even
that.
know what to do. This has not come
Yeah.
up in 8 years. I don't know what do
like-
I do?
Like, hey, let me call
Yeah.
3 or 4 different people to see what,
Yeah.
if they've ever been through it.
Yeah,
So
I know. It's crazy. So anyway, okay. I think we're wrapping up.
Okay.
Those stories were,
Yeah, those were good.
damn, you got good ones. We play a little game at the end of every one.
Okay.
Don't worry. It's fun. It's
Okay.
called Punch List. Cam's
like
going to
it.
ask you 3 rapid fire questions, just the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay. This is to get to know you a little bit better. Okay. Go ahead, Cam.
Okay, what's the craziest or pettiest thing that's ever killed or almost killed one of your deals?
Setting a house on fire.
Yeah, I guess the deal is done now. So yeah,
Guess we already talked about that.
Done. An agent telling me how long they've been in the business and how many transactions they've done in the last 12 months.
Isn't that nice?
So
Thank you, sir.
you got to give it to them.
You got to give it to him. 35 years. You're like, okay.
Okay, what's the weirdest thing or situation you've ever walked in on?
Have you
In
found
real estate
anything?
or in life?
Whatever.
Shit. Give
Whatever
us
story's
anything.
better.
Yeah.
In college, my best friend hooking up with someone.
Was it a famous person? Or you just like
No.
walked in on it happening?
Just walked in on it
You're
happening.
like, oh, sock was on the door, my bad.
Oh, no, that's not even the worst. And it's not even me. It's my wife. She walked into him taking a picture of his backside
No.
to send to our group of friends.
He's mooning the camera and she's like, oh my God.
So he would, I can't, he might see this.
Okay, don't worry. We won't say your name, whoever you are.
Yeah.
I think I know who it is.
I
Okay, but what
mean,
about real estate? Have you ever walked into a house or like,
I walked into one of the owners. She was like almost naked.
oh God.
In her, I thought it was
I'm so
vacant.
sorry, I'm so
There was
sorry.
no cars in the house.
Oh,
I was told it
wow.
was going to be like no one was going to be home for it. And we were walking through, and it was actually my client that saw her first. And he's like, look. And then I was like, whoa, this is awkward.
Hi.
you
We're
know,
here.
and I was like, well, we're going to go out front until you leave. And then it was just like an awkward, embarrassing
no.
situation.
She's the one who approved the showing?
Yeah, like I felt so bad, but we were probably like 3 minutes early, but the place looked vacant. I mean,
Nobody was there. Like nobody was all, oh my God, that's
Yeah.
hysterical.
so
God, that hasn't happened to me yet. I'm surprised, but
really?
yeah, no.
yeah,
Anyway.
it's
Okay, last question. If you could be anything other than a real estate agent, what would you be and why?
Magic Mike. I mean, why not?
Dude,
makes a lot of money.
That is one of the best answers we've had yet.
And
A couple other people were like,
real because you said that without any hesitation.
Oh, for sure.
without any hesitation. His wife's like, yeah, I wish he was too.
I know she does. She's disappointed sometimes when I come home. She's like, yeah, that's not Magic Mike.
Oh, damn. You're still not Magic Mike today? All right. Well, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Ramon.
I gave her 2 good looking kids. So
You did.
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
there you
Have you
go.
seen his babies?
No.
Yes.
They're so handsome and so beautiful. I just
I
love
appreciate
them.
it.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much for being
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
It was
really
fun.
It was really, see? It was easy peasy, wasn't it?
yeah. You know, every once in a while, I like to show this.
You got to show the pretty face every once in a while. You know, you got to get it out of the office, you know?
Magic
Yeah. Yeah.
Magic.
Hey.
Are we going to call him MM from now
That's his
on?
new nickname.
Yes.
Hey.
We'll walk
just
by the
between
office and be
us.
like, hey, Mike. Phil's going to be like,
What?
his name's not Mike.
Well, I
Yes, it
need to
is.
start working on the abs so that I can start being like,
There we go.
there we
All of
go.
a sudden, he's going to come in like Jack for like,
Yeah.
yes, you're working it.
Start doing it. Put a pole in my office.
In his
like,
office.
practicing.
Phil's like,
That's not allowed.
I don't think this is
is
compliant.
weird.
This is weird, but okay. So he's doing pull-ups in the doorway.
Do we even have HR? Like,
Our team doesn't.
Definitely
neither
doesn't.
am I.
You know. Anyway. Oh my God. Thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks for listening. Behind the Lockbox is produced and edited by Property Showcase Group. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or review this podcast. Thanks for your support. See you next week.